Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is your host, Jason. I'm coming again to give you guys another quick overview of the book of Exodus this time. Yesterday, we went over the book of Genesis, so today we're going to do Exodus. Now, in the book of Exodus, some of the things that I wrote down right here to point out to you guys to give you kind of an overview of what's going on in this book is this is pretty much when the children of Israel enters Egypt. Remember in the last chapter, in Genesis, Joseph brought them over to Egypt. And everything was good as long as Joseph was there, and as long as the Pharaoh and all of them were cool with it. Everybody was good with it because of the things that Joseph had done. But now we're at a time where Joseph and his brothers, all of them, they had them died, they had them passed, and now the number of descendants from them has grown like in enormous numbers. It's so many of them. They have so many of them that the Bible says that they became extremely powerful and they filled the land. Now, with them living in Egypt, there's a new king now, a new king of Egypt, because the old ones have passed. So this new one, he knows nothing about Joseph. He knows nothing about what Joseph done for his people or any of that. All that he noticed is that the children of Israel are powerful people. And if a war broke out, they would become a problem because there's so many of them. That's what he was focusing on. So he talked to his own people and was like, pretty much, we need to do something about this. So that's how the children of Israel ended up becoming slaves to the Egyptians, because they was really trying to break them down. And these are the things that are talked about and discussed in Exodus 1. So they turn them into slaves, hoping to gain control of them. But when he did that, I think this was another miracle. God had allowed the children of Israel to multiply even more, like in far greater numbers than what it was then. And it had already said that they were extremely powerful and that they filled the land. So the king of Egypt, what he decided to do was get the midwives to kill all of the male babies that they have. He said if they were female, let them live. If they male, kill them. But the thing was, these midwives, they were not Egyptian midwives. So they were Hebrew. So they feared God. They had a fear of God more than they feared the Pharaoh. So they was like, nah, we're not doing that. We're gonna leave them alone and let it be. So that caused them to grow even more, and all of that was in Exodus chapter 1. So Exodus chapter 2 is where Moses come in. All right, so Moses is born. And Moses is going to be here throughout the rest of Exodus. So he comes in, he's a baby, and at this time they're killing all of the male. They're trying to kill the male babies and everything. So the mother of Moses sends him up the creek in a basket. He ends up like on the doorstep of the Egyptians, and one of the, I don't know if it was the princess or the queen at that time. I think it was the princess, but he ended up there, and they ended up getting the baby, raising Moses, and he's pretty much raised up as an Egyptian, and becomes like an Egyptian prince. So Moses, not really knowing that the children of Israel, the slaves, the one that the Egyptians have as slaves, is really his people. He is just living his life and doing these things that the Egyptians do, because he don't know yet. But God put things in place to bring him understanding and to reveal this to him. And when it is revealed to him, he starts to have so much compassion and remorse for all the things that the Egyptians are doing to them, that on one day he's out and about. He sees this guy who's supposed to be watching over the slaves. He hits one of them. He's beating on him. So Moses gets upset. He ends up killing the man. And they hid the Israelites hid the body, but then Moses knew that they were going to find out sooner or later, so he ended up fleeing Egypt. And while he fled it, they found out that he had did that. So Moses ended up out in the wilderness. And in Exodus 3, this is when Moses sees the burning bush, and he sees the Spirit of God on this tree pretty much, but the tree is not burning up, but it's on fire, so it's like, wow, how can this be? How can the tree be on fire but not be burning up? So Moses goes onto the tree. He ends up having a discussion with God, and God reveals to him his purpose. All right, so at first Moses didn't really want to do it. Moses was scared and everything, so he asked God for a couple different things, and God allowed him to do it. So one of those things was to take his brother with him, so that his brother can talk for him, because it says that Moses had a speech problem. So Moses ended up taking his brother, and they went to go start doing what God told him to do, and that was he returned back to Egypt, and he confronted the Pharaoh, which is the king of Egypt at that time, and he told him that God said, let his people go and free them. And the Pharaoh was like, no, I'm not doing that. Yeah, that's your God. It ain't my God. I'm not doing that. So because he done that, and he was so full of pride and stuck in his ways and just determined to not allow them to be free, what ended up happening was in Exodus 7, God gave Moses a staff. This staff was held by Aaron, and Moses commanded Aaron to throw it on the ground. He commanded him to throw it on the ground. And then when he threw it on the ground, it turned into this snake. So the Pharaoh was like, hey, I got some magicians that can do that too. So they threw theirs on the ground. They turned into snakes. But the one that, the staff that God gave Moses and Aaron, it swallowed up the other two snakes, to show that it was more powerful and everything. So that's something else that had happened. And then, let's see, Exodus, what ended up happening, because he still didn't want to free the people, in Exodus 8 through 11, God releases all these horrible plagues on the Egyptians, and it gets so bad that they eventually was like, okay, you can go. Y'all can go, leave, please leave. And then Exodus 14, the Egyptians decide they're going to change their mind and go back and get them. So by this time they had approached the Red Sea, and this is where Moses, through the power of God, splits the Red Sea, and it allows the children of Israel to walk across the ocean on dry land. And they go all the way across, and this journey took a couple days for them to walk across this. So the water was like walls on both sides of them during this whole time. And as soon as every last one of them got out, the water was commanded to come back down, and it killed all of the Egyptians that followed. So that's another thing that has happened. And then we got in Exodus 16, the manna from heaven. The children of Israel was complaining even after all of the things that they seen God do. And then they got the audacity to go and build a golden calf in Exodus 32, and dishonor God, but God ended up getting on them about that. The Ark of the Covenant was built in Exodus 37. And then I skipped one. In Exodus 19, the Lord revealed himself on Mount Sinai. So guys, I recommend you go read this. I think y'all would really enjoy it. I pray that this was enough insight to get y'all interested. But until the next time, y'all have a blessed one.